Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. A little sick here, just telling you right now. That's why I'm doing some pre-recorded footage. And we're going to talk about it. Act 2's been out for a couple days. I've played through everything possible, and we're gonna give some thoughts on it. This is not going to be a full extensive thought. I'm just going to give you, the guidelines generally. When I do my brutally honest opinion on the whole episode of Revenant, I'll go into deeper details. But let's kind of start off where we're cooking, man. Let's start with the basics. Right now, we're currently watching Contest of Elders, or Tomb of Elders, since this is a starting point. Let's talk about it. What do I think? My first impression of Tomb of Elders is there's going to be three camps. There's going to be the Dados and Salty Greppos of the world who aren't going to find this hard enough. They're going to be upset the enemies are not thicker than Morosov's cheeks. It's not going to be tanky enough enemies to make it a challenge for them. They're not going to be satisfied. Then you're going to have the other side of the community that's going to see it as being too hard, too challenging, unfun. And then you're going to have people in the middle who's kind of like the veterans, or maybe not necessarily the casuals who do enjoy the game, who just get pissed off at everyone who just doesn't pay attention and read text. I've got a perfect little picture just for you all of Reddit. This explains my experience with Contest of Elders. Teammates who can't read. That's my struggle. And that's exactly what you're probably going to experience if you do LFG. My recommendation is don't play with LFG unless it's like a true LFG, like Fire Team Finder or matchmaking. Yeah, I would not do it unless you're very specific. And that's sad, but I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be very toxic. If you're not going to do the objectives in Contest of Elders, you should not play Contest of Elders. Contest of Elders, one of the things I do enjoy is it does reward you for playing the objectives. You could spend over an hour in this game mode, or you could do the objectives and spend 30 minutes. And I don't know about you, especially if I was a casual player who doesn't have a lot of time, you would think, hey, I should probably do this in less time so I can do more runs. But you would be wrong, because there are blueberries who just don't know what they're doing. And my first time running Contest of Elders, not the Tomb of Elders, the contest, the full run, I literally rage quit and wiped us intentionally because we had run out of tokens and I refused to carry a team that just didn't play the objective. But I do have some game footage of me doing a full contest in 30 minutes or around 30 minutes. And we literally had someone who literally wasn't playing the objective. Two of us were, and the little blueberry wasn't. And we made him rage quit because we called him out and he just rage quit on the final rotation. And so we two-man the hardest part of the contest and we got all the loot and not the blueberry. Again, three camps. The camps that say it's too easy, the camp that says it's too hard, and the camp that just wants people to do the objectives so we can all get through it in a timely fashion. Overall, what do I think about Tomb Elders? I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's a fine revision. I did not feel like it was a copy pasta. I know there's going to be that camp that says, this is just a copy. This is nothing new. It's new. We have new enemy races, things that we never had in Destiny. My biggest complaint is some of the challenges are they're dumb for what they want you to do. And when I mean that, a perfect example is the Dread. There's Scorch Cannons that they want you to shoot and kill things with Scorch Cannons, but half the Dread are flying and they're just jumping all over the place, and Scorch Cannons don't track. Or you have to kill so many enemies with Heavy, which is fine, or Special, but there's not enough enemies. That's really annoying. Or another issue is that you get challenges that your teammates kill the boss before you can even do, because they're more time consuming to do the challenge than it is to just nuke the boss. They do have catch up mechanics and like go to in between section, like traveling in a certain amount of time. Like, oh, you have a minute 30 to travel, and you get it in like 10 seconds because it's not that much traveling. Or you have to kill enemies, which at least that's somewhat challenging. Overall, I think Contest of Elders is a nice revision. I enjoyed it. It is fun when you have a team that knows what they're doing, or at least is playing the objective. If you turn your brain off and I guess you just don't care, then I guess you can enjoy it too. I don't know why you want to spend an hour more and not try to make it go by faster and get loot that, you know, pop off. Something that you want to know is that heal clip or any kind of healing factor is premium, because even though things are not as chunky, they still hit pretty hard. And when there's a group of them, you will die. Heal clip and any kind of healing factor just negates that. So you want to be able to really stay alive, use anything with heal clip. In fact, like use Red Death or something. Like, I'm sure you will survive. I did not find that many of the challenges as a whole were a challenge outside of, like I said, anything with dread when there's not like a lot of enemies to kill. Another situation is that I got by the fake mines. Yeah, there's forfeit mines. I understand how that works. I looked at my footage and I was like, oh, there was fake mines because there's more than one letter. That's cool. That's neat. You know, just get caught once and then you know not to fall for that again. It's all right, I guess. Not challenging, more annoying, more of a haha, got you. And then you're like, oh, okay. But again, I think, like I said, 3 parties. I think overall, my biggest complaint outside of like playing with random people, the loot is disappointing. There is only 3 things new you can get: Grid Skipper, the SMG, and the shotgun, and nothing outside of maybe the SMG excites me. You go through all this work for nothing exciting. I've never been least exciting. Like, if you told me I have a chance to get a shiny from this, then I would grind this over Onslaught. In fact, I think for people who are upset about Onslaught, this is an easier way to farm loot. It's faster. Like, if you do a 30-minute run of Contest of Elders, you guys are going to get some serious amount of loot and material for tonics, which we'll get to tonics in a minute. But overall, you're really going to get a lot of rewards. Like, it's very rewarding. The problem is the rewards are not rewarding. Like, you get what I feel like. I'm not excited about the rewards, but you do get a lot of them. Like, overall, like, very, very disappointed. Now, let's talk about the narrative. We're gonna click on the narrative. There is one actual main mission. Again, this is 3 weeks condensed into 1 week that you can do. It's very short. Let's rip that pony off and my first impressions. This is very short, and honestly, I'm okay with that. They obviously removed a lot of the busy work that you would have to do, such as collect X, Y, and Z, go talk to this. I mean, there's still that. You're still talking to X, Y, and Z person. You're still running around for some reason. You're running around talking to people at the monitor instead of actually talking to them in person. And it's obviously to save budget. It's lazy. I don't care what the excuse is. It's just bad game design. I literally played other free-to-play games where you can actually talk to people. Now, Act 2 has probably one cutscene, but it is probably one of the best cutscenes I have ever seen in Destiny. And it is mind-blowing that a episodic cutscene is some of the best content, like this most badass space war that we have seen, and it's going to go away. It is a crime against every gamer who enjoys Destiny, because one of the coolest features in this episode is just going to go away. It is insane that we get so many lore bits through seasons and now episodes, and they're not really documented well enough. It's baffling, man. And it's like core content too. It's like core story. This is like talking about, like, giving some historical context to the war and the whirlwind of the fallen. Not only that, but we get like this introduction of the fact that the Echo's alive. Somehow the Echo's alive, and they set up this whole situation where the Echo apparently is trying to find a new master. I don't know where that comes into play, but plot twist: the Echo wants a new master. I'm gonna put my first impressional thoughts. I think they're gonna make Mithrax get the Echo, and Nezarec's gonna take over, and he's gonna be the plot twist baddie, and we are gonna work with Aramis and Mithrax's daughter to kill him. I think that's gonna be the plot twist. I think it's gonna be Skolas, or I say Skolas, with Mythical or Fickrel. Sorry, Fickrel. I'm not talking about. I was talking about RuneScape earlier, so we're talking about Mithril or Fickrel and Skolas, and I think Mithrax are gonna like team up. It's gonna be like Nezarec, Mithrax. We'll see. But overall, like, I enjoyed the little mini mission. My thoughts that I think we should cut. They need to go back to old DLC content packs where you got a small story, you got actual like small little missions. They cut out all the fat, the bull crap, and no one gives a crap. Doing the basic lost sector for the 30,000th time. You know, just do the new thing, and then, you know what? That's it. Honestly, I think that's how it should be. No, none of this stupid bullcrap. I would rather have 3 or 4 missions for the campaign, and then the content itself be good. And I'm gonna say it. I think Prison of Elders is fantastic. And I do want to make one more note, because I know we're talking about low story at this moment. I think the biggest problem that people are gonna have with contest is that Bungie again advertised the options and opportunities inside of inside contest as being so many different choices and ways that you're never going to get bored. But very rarely did I ever find that the choices actually were different, that I ever feel like there was a lot of rotations. I feel like Bungie's really good at trying to oversell something, and they really did. Very, very rarely did I see anything that was like, oh wow, that really mixes it up from the last time I played it. I think it's overhyped. I wish there was more variation. I wish there were a little bit more of like platform variations as well, like the different battle environments. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and complain that we have like a hive and a dread, like the dread environment, which makes no sense in the context of the fact that we're in the Prison of Elders, and that predated any of the enemies that we now have in the Shadow Legion. Like, what? Okay, all that stuff just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm gonna give that a pass, even though story-wise it doesn't make any sense. Overall, I feel like there was a lot of potential in this act. I just feel like, you know what? Let's hold on to that nugget. Let's hold on to that nugget, and I'm gonna tell you why I think potential is lost on this act. But let's go to Destiny. We're gonna go to Destiny. We're gonna load in. We're gonna go to the last city, and while we're launching in there, we're gonna go to some of the comments that I kind of want to look at. So Noah Lee, this Chad, is the one that worked on it. For those who've gotten to the Cons of Elders, what do you think? Cooking some heat or more time in the oven? Okay, besides loot, I don't have anything to do with that, brah. I mean, that is, like I said, that seems like the biggest issue. Dismantling mines still kills me. Watch them carefully. again, yeah, just an initial thought would be nice to be able to maybe choose between two modifiers instead of just getting a random one to get more agency to build you decide to build and decide to run and avoid airborne. Yeah, I didn't really talk about the modifiers. The modifiers feel like nothing burgers. Like the Banes felt more impactful than the modifiers. I feel like the modifiers, we're so strong, like with our builds, that I feel like modifiers are kind of pointless. But the Banes, they're immediate and you can feel the threat they possess. So let's talk about tonics. I mentioned it, I think, in my first thought of Act 1, but Act 2 presents us with more tonics that you can use to focus on weapons, and it lets you focus on all the different ones. I think this is fine. It gives people more options. I think this side of the tonics is fantastic. I think the problem that we have with tonics is these are kind of pointless. I half the time I forget these exist, and they really don't do enough to my builds that warrant me to really care. Sure, they do increase you, but we're so strong that I dare I say this feels like a joke. It feels like you're putting on the confetti mod on your gun for the fun of it. It's just there for the fun, but you don't really need it. And that's what I feel like. Nothing here is like, oh man, I really need this to complete my build. No, it's there for the fun factor. It does a little bit, but it's nothing that like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do anything in the game. Maybe for the dungeon, for the day one dungeon, it was more imperative to maybe squeak out some more uses. But your day-to-day content, even grandmasters, you don't need any of this. I find myself wanting to get the free loot on doing activities. So I find this to be a lot more useful than this. And I kind of wish Bungie would keep this aspect of the game, because this is really good. Being able to target farm whatever we want just by playing the game, especially like Glimmer or enhancement cores, all that is juice. I feel like this could be cleaned up a little bit more, all the different currency you can earn. But outside of that, tonics, kind of a nothing burger. But let's talk about it. Field work. Why are we continuing to do field work? This is the busy work. All of it is so boring. The only reason you do field work is for more tonics that you will never use, or achievements that either you care about or you don't care about. The major and the key field work give you a small line of dialogue, but doesn't really impact the story. In fact, I find it more annoying because it's so pointless outside of maybe this interaction of Ido and Aramis, where Aramis calls her a baby back bitch and tells her to shape up because she's not acting like someone that's worthy of being called her father's child. And a lot of people don't like Aramis, which is kind of funny because I don't have that issue, but a lot of people don't like her. But that's about the most interesting thing that happens in the field work, is Aramis literally calling her a baby back bitch. And that's it. The field work. And oh yeah, the field work is literally running around and killing enemies, and like 15 enemies in like a minute. I wish there was like an actual activity where it makes you do like a legend Lost Sector speed run. Will that piss off casuals? Absolutely. But god dang, give me something that's worth my time. If I'm going to do a Lost Sector, make me speed run it. Make me like do this crazy Lost Sector where it's just filled with not modifiers, but Banes. A room full of freaking meteor enemies. They're all yellow bars. They all have meteor, and I just have thousands of balls being thrown at my face. Listen, if Bungie's going to try to throw their balls in my face, it might as well be somewhat entertaining. That's all I got to say. All right. I know people are not going to like it, but I don't care. But let's go back. Whoops. There we go. Now, to conclude my final thoughts, I don't want the video being too long. I just want to put my final thoughts and my concerns going into Act 3. My overall impressions of Act 2 and my thoughts is that it's wasted potential because it is a very hype story. Like Act 2, Act 1 was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I know there's a group of people that just are tired of Destiny and they're tired of, you know, story and they're just, they don't care, right? You're never going to make them happy. And I get it. I understand. Is this, I want to just clarify that I think it's miles ahead of Echoes. And I would even argue that it's some points it's better than the final shape story wise. Like the enemy, again, I said it in Act 1, Fikrul has been more of a menace and a threat. And the fact that literally we kicked Skolas's butt and then Fikrul shows up, revives the dude in our face, laughs at us, and then just leaves. Whereas the Witness pulls out his fingers and arms and can't kill one person. Oh, except for a ghost. That's about it. So, in my opinion, the enemy is more threatening than the Witness in this episode than the final shape. But that's besides the point. I enjoy this. The story was good. But I feel like they have such a good story that is wasted and with no, like, it feels like we get this build up, we get this epic moment, and then we just stop. Like, we're getting good, and I know what's going to happen is we're going to get the exotic mission next act, and that's all it's going to be, is going to be the same mission over and over again with slight dialogue. So we're not going to get these badass moments like we do now, and it's going to be really piss me off. We got this really cool cutscene. We got this really cool plot. I mean, I guess it was slightly plot twist. Like anyone who knows anything about Prison of Elders, you would probably see this a mile away. Like, oh, he's going to bring back Skolas. We know that Skolas is coming back. If you saw the leaks, you saw that he was a boss that you could fight. Like Prison of Elders, Skolas, bread and butter, right? We knew it was going to happen. But why I think it's wasted potential is that Prison of Elders or Contest of Elders is a good activity. It's fun. It's fresh compared to like D1. It's not a copy pasta, and it's not your generic battlegrounds. It's not your generic do gambit activity where you're collecting motes to dunk it in this new device. You're not doing waves of this or that. It is just its own thing. Prison of Elders version 2. And we don't have that right now in Destiny. Well, we do now. But there's no like loot incentive. The loot is ass. And I don't care about crafting. In fact, I know why they removed crafting. If they added crafting, no one would touch this game, this activity. If all the weapons are craftable, people would be done with Prison of Elders. Contest of Elders and Onslaught like a long time ago. And it's a shame. And I'm so bothered by the fact that there was such a prime opportunity to bring back some D1 classics, some like reef weapons, bring back some juicers, just surprise. I would have loved it if Bungie had the balls to say, surprise, you're getting these weapons we advertised, and there's some other weapons. We know you wanted them. They're not craftable, but hunt them to your heart's content. Well, I also think this is wasted potential. We don't know if this is staying around. We don't know if we're going to continue. We're going to continue to have Contest of Elders. Sorry, I'm sick and I'm trying to articulate myself that isn't snotty and nasty. Like, we don't know if what content's going to stick. I mean, sometimes they keep some battlegrounds and that's pretty much it. Like the last thing they really kept was Onslaught or Into the Light, but mostly it's been battlegrounds. Most of the seasonal content and has just disappeared, and we don't know what they're going to keep from episodes. And I feel like bringing such an iconic thing like Contest of Elders and not keeping it is such a waste. I like that less is more, and I'm glad that we had less of like generic trash activities that like echoes. All the echo activities were boring and generic and just garbage. And there was a lot of them, except for like Enigma. And I'm okay that this time around we just have one for each act, but they built upon it. They made it good. I think they can make it better. They can improve upon it. But my fear is it's just going to be wasted. They're not going to continue to add to it. It's just going to be more content like generic Vanguard ops or lost sectors that no one really cares about. I'm not happy. I should be excited, and I am excited to play Contest of Elders. Like, I had fun when I did a 30-minute run. I had a good team, and it was very enjoyable. There were some challenging moments, nothing that was overly challenging like Grandmaster, in my opinion. But overall, I did have a good time. But the loot was mid, and I'm going to be honest. This activity requires you to put some effort into it to complete it. And if you don't, you're going to spend a long time, and the loot just doesn't justify it. It just doesn't. I don't know. Maybe people are going to say I'm complaining, but I'm going to be honest. People are more excited about going to Zur and getting free god rolls or grinding the dungeon for loot than playing the actual seasonal activity. And let's just check it out. Let's just look at it. This is currently what's on Steam. We did not get much when this Act 1 came out and the dungeon came out. People were hyped. This is us now. The highest we got was 56K. That's not good, guys. That's not good. Especially for an iconic game mode such as Prison of Elders being brought back and revisioned. Like, this is not good. And it makes me upset because they're doing what I always wanted them to do, which is focus on good content instead of just trash. And it feels like they're gonna not do that anymore. And it really sucks. And I think they're shooting themselves in the foot because it's just the loot. The loot is mid. When you put badass game modes that people want to play, granted, not everyone likes Onslaught, and there's going to be three camps with Contest of Elders. But overall, like, if you get a decent team, you can do it. I don't know, man. That's just my thoughts. I feel like it's wasted potential. I feel like there's a lot of good things going for Act 2. And I feel like we know what Act 3 is going to be. Act 3 is just going to be the exotic mission. And it's going to piss me off because if all we get is the exotic mission, that is the act, that is the activity, I feel like we've been robbed. Because this story is so much better than episode 1. And we got so much crap for episode 1. Episode 1 has so many different activities. Granted, they were mostly ass. But it feels like such a cheapskate way of doing Act 3 if we just get another copy pasta. Here's 3 weeks of doing the exotic mission, guys. And the fact that this is such a good story, like, I'm invested. But if you tell me that we're just doing the same exotic mission with the same predetermined outcomes, the same bosses, just different dialogue, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be upset. I'm just saying it, right? Like, I want a good, unique final mission to cap it off. And I want to see a conclusion. Like, we're building up to something for Act 3. We have Skolas. We have Vikral. We have Mithrax, who's turning into Nezarec. Like, there's a lot hanging on. And if the payoff isn't there, I'm afraid. I want to say this is going to end on a banger note, but I have doubt. Serious doubts. But you guys can let me know in the comments down below. I know this video went a little long, but I didn't write a script and I'm still sick, and so my thoughts are kind of scattered, so apologies. Until next time, don't forget to be the best version of yourself, and game out.